Hey, what's up you beautiful feckers, how you all doing? So, the Maestro, our band mistress Octavia, how's your music making skills? Because with Octavia we now have the ability to create our own, albeit limited audio track that plays out when Octavia casts her abilities. Her Manticore is what creates this music and it can be accessed at the bottom right of your screen when you go into Octavia's appearance tab. Now Octavia is a Warframe whose abilities rely on this music. She is our newest Warframe and one that scales incredibly well. She's a damage dealing support Warframe with crowd control abilities and some really nice buffs for her squad, not to mention her amazing passive. So this passive is called Inspiration, and whenever Octavia casts an ability she will replenish 1 energy every second for 30 seconds for herself and all nearby teammates. Recasting her abilities will of course reset this timer. It's kind of like a built-in energy siphon. Combine this with an actual energy siphon and Zenuric energy regen and Octavia will have very little energy concerns unless maybe she's modded for a negative efficiency. And the basics of her 4 abilities are as follows. Her first ability is called Malice. Octavia will throw her mallet down, which will attract incoming enemy damage inside a radius. The more damage this mallet takes, the more damage it deals back on all enemies inside the radius. For me, this is her main ability. It scales incredibly well and the damage numbers are crazy, even against high level enemies, because high level enemies will of course be hitting it harder, so the mallet's going to hit them back just as hard. If you mod with this in mind and go for range, duration and power strength, then everything's pretty much dead. It's that damn good. Mallet also has great synergy with her second ability and her ultimate ability as well. Her second ability is called Resonator and it's basically her rolling disco ball of doom, which rolls about taunting enemies and making them do the conga. It basically rolls around saying, hey quick follow me, look I got something to show you, it's amazing, you're gonna love it. Bonk, fucking mallet to the lot of them, they're fucking dead. The Resonator ball itself deals very small amounts of damage. If you have your mallet thrown down already, then this ball will pick it up and roll about, attracting enemy fire and also making them run after it. This has actually gotten me killed a few times because it tends to stick close to you and one random napalm rocket aimed at the ball or a bombard rocket will completely wipe you out. So I don't personally use the disco ball that much. I prefer to stick to abilities 1, 3 and 4. Her third ability is called Metronome. This is Octavia's buff ability that will increase your armor by about 35% and give you and your teammates one of 4 different buffs depending on how well you and your squad mates can move to the beat. You will see a growing percentage for each buff in the top right hand side of your screen when trying to activate these buffs. Of course it will start at 0% and it will work all the way up to 100%. Move with the rhythm correctly and the percentage of course increases. Get it wrong and it declines. And the 4 buffs are Nocturne, which will turn you invisible when you crouch in time with the beat. Basically, I think someone in my comment section called it tactical teabagging, which is awesome. So it will forever be known as that for me. It will of course give you that nice stealth buff. The Opera buff will give you bonus multi-shot if you shoot your weapon in time with the beat as well. The Vivis buff is a speed one which you can activate by jumping up and down or bullet jumping to the rhythm. And the final buff is the Fort buff, which will give you a melee damage buff when you swing your melee weapon to the rhythm. Out of these 4 buffs, I'm loving this stealth one. It really helps keep my Octavia alive a lot longer, and with the right slow beat it is pretty easy to achieve. Because as awesome as some of the Manticore music is that I'm hearing on YouTube, Reddit and forums and so on, some of them might not be very functional when it comes to getting the most out of your Octavia, simply because the Manticore is broken into 3 sections: Mallet, Resonator and Metronome. The more beats you have on your Manticore means the more damage per second you're going to throw out, but it also means that it's harder to get those 4 buffs from her Metronome, so choose your song wisely. I know some players have already started to make their own tracks just to boost her damage output and maybe turn the music down so as not to cause too much of an ear bleed, because the music itself isn't going to make much sense. Now Octavia's ultimate ability is called Amp. This is a straight up damage buff to Octavia and her squad mates of course. It will also increase the damage and the range of her mallet. So combining the 2 of these abilities works incredibly well. Now you can cover a whole defense room with her mallet with the right range and just go about nuking the whole room. Power Strength will of course boost the buff from her amp ability and basically give you a much larger damage increase. So when modding my Octavia, I focused more on duration, simply because her base duration is actually pretty bad, especially for Malice and Metronome. I focused on this duration, range, and of course Power Strength. I ignored efficiency simply because I run with Arcane Energize 90% of the time. I can also run with Zenuric, and if I needed to, I could put on Energy Siphon. So I went ahead and stuck 4 Forma on my Octavia, and my first build is a negative efficiency one, but it has a lot of duration and a decent amount of power strength and range as well, which works out much better for me. The second build is a more balanced build to allow me to spam her abilities, but the duration is a little bit lower, which is actually really noticeable, so I much prefer the first build to the second one. Octavia is a seriously good support Warframe and an even better damage dealing one. Her design and her abilities are really enjoyable. However, I really wish that we could mute other players running with Octavia without having to turn the actual in-game music down altogether. I've ran several public matches where I ended up in a squad of 4 Octavias and it was just complete ear bleed. You couldn't make out what tracks were what. It was a complete mashup of bad troll songs that was just really hard to listen to. So I wish there was an option just to turn Octavias off. Maybe players will start to run their Octavias with the sound turned down, but I highly doubt it. Octavia's quest was also a really good one. I really enjoyed it. It was much better than some of the previous ones like Nidus, and I have it fully recorded, so would it be worthwhile sticking it up without me talking over it, just the raw quest? Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. Let me know in the comment section below this video. On completion of her quest, you will of course get her blueprint, and to get the chassis you need to go and do the Lua music puzzle, which is new to the game, where you copy the pattern of musical notes. Her helmet drops from rotation C on derelict survival missions, and the systems is also from Lua, but it's from the Exterminate caches. So that's pretty much the end of the video. Octavia is for me one of the better new additions to Warframe. Her abilities work really well with one another, and she can fill more than one role in a squad, whether you want to take her for that damage boost, whether you want to take her for her actual damage output or crowd control, whatever. But go ahead and get Octavia for yourself and let me know what you think of her in the comment section below this video. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, or don't if you didn't. Subscribe for more Warframe, and as always, thanks very much for watching.